Okay, so now we are back live again. We want to say thank you to everyone joining us on the stream, and thank you to our new guests in this conversation. We have Graziele Lautenschlaeger and Riad Salameh. Welcome, both of you. Graziele is a Brazilian media artist and researcher in media history and theory, focusing a lot on the intersection between art and science, as well as cybernetics, relational aesthetics, media archaeology, and new materialism. And Riad Salameh is a researcher, curator, arts practitioner from Lebanon, focusing a lot on bodies in cyberspace. And you are also one of the artists of Voice Yard that is shown in the Mediate's in-betweenness exhibition right now. So the two words you were very recently given are body and news. So please give us your best in-between connections between the two.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. And yeah, what I would start with is about this statement. The body organizes the world to organize itself.
Yes. And I mean, what do you mean exactly by the body being organized? I'm very interested in that.
And in a sense that we are subjected to so many stimulus the whole time, and these stimulus are influencing how we shape our bodies. So if you are influenced about of a lot of news that we are overwhelmed nowadays, this somehow affects our cognitive systems, and it's a huge effort to organize all these problems that we try to figure out a solution mentally or cognitively, and somehow it's an effort and it's an energy cost in doing this organization to understand the world we are relating to. So in this sense, I think probably it's a big challenge nowadays to think about the body with the focus on how much we are influenced by this overwhelming situation of too much information, but what is the information that are really important and relevant for us to embody, so to say.
Definitely, and I feel like a big part of this embodiment is so related now to the news and what is happening, especially with the virus, with the also with like queer feminist theories and many elements where there is trying to, like, the whole conversation is basically revolving around the bodies and how now we are so being put us outside of it to a certain extent that it becomes very isolated, and the body just becomes you and into your own space, us in our rooms, and then we hear on like the news how people are dying and how bodies are being shut down because of the virus, and you start like kind of having a more reflective connotation to how you are like health-wise, biologically, and your own presence right now. And there is a lot of like, it's very scary, but you still feel very grateful that your body is not like kind of opposing you, and just like staying in a very good health, I guess.
Yeah, we are the body, in fact, isn't it?
Yeah.
In the sense that I felt at the beginning with this isolation situation, this feeling of disacceleration, but it was only in relation to the external thing, but there was a huge movement inside of new reflections that were triggered about maybe self understanding as well, or reshaping, really reframing how to behave in this new context. And this has been a very, very interesting learning process that indeed I needed to make a news diet, so to say. Otherwise, I could uh, drive crazy in a day with so many updates. And I think there is something also, there's also problem in relation to how many updates the machines that you are relating to are um, able to provide, but our body are not so much adapted to this speed. So somehow there might be something also in this point to be discussed.
Definitely, and it's funny because it reminds me of like how now with the force of our relation to like being the best self right now, because we have all the time and the world to just reflect and like work out, eat properly, and then we see all of those like recipes and people like making bread and everyone just like staying in the kitchen right now because we want to eat properly, trying to work out, do this mediation of our bodies and the real world to the extent that we can control. While also there is a lot of things that are related, which is nice. I mean, I'm not saying that it's something negative, but also I feel like there is a lot of reflection towards intimacy and how much we are trying to fill this missing and longing for like people's touch, people's like presence, and the machine, even if there is a contact like me right now with the screen and you with your screen, we are seeing each other, but there isn't any like physicality that is being presented that gives us an intimate reach to things. I mean, technology can reach intimacy to in a lot of ways. Like it reminds me of this pillow that when you have like for the technicalities of it, but when you can press like a button and it sends like to your partner that you are hugging this pillow, and then it gives like some form of sensors. So in a way, especially for like people that are in long distance relationship, so it gives them this intimate physical reaction to things.
Your words remind me of this. I think it's McLuhan statement that he says that every amputation is also an extension.
Yeah.
I got very happy that just after this shutdown, we could start attending courses, or I started doing yoga again with my favorite yoga teacher in Berlin. So this what also could be a re-signification of the idea of intimacy somehow, that we have been forced ourselves to reconnect. Also, the reconnection to Amanda here, who invited me to this now, the reconnection to my old therapist where I did my graduation. There are so many new connections that are reconnections from old relationships that I don't know how is it for you, but it's I'm being obliged to review what I mean about intimacy in this extent as well, of what are the relationships that I really care and have been important in my life.
Mm-hmm. That is very interesting. We have a viewer question that fits very good into what you're saying right now. That says that in these slow down days of staying at home, the human body is subject to sedentary and interconnected work. What are the possible adaptation as humans being undergoing this current mode would become standard?
That's a nice question. uh, I mean, what does it really mean to have like, what are the standards of now? I think humans are very adaptable, and somehow we, regardless of everything, I think we're still doing to a certain extent quite okay, and we are kind of trying to make this shift towards what we can deal with at the moment, and through the technologies, the policies that are being implemented through different governments as well. So yeah, I'm not really sure.
I think that might emerge some new standards, but I'm not sure that this what we are right now living will be the next standard in general. I think somehow we are moving from an extreme to another to in a second moment find a balance. But sometimes I can't be so optimistic in the sense that the capitalist um, endeavors will afterward rise even stronger or more aggressive. I'm not sure. It's a moment to doubt as well. I think it's to to give space to doubt. Like it's like the certainty is the uncertainty. It's also a cybernetic thing.
Yeah,
That was very, very nicely put.
definitely. And I also think it also really depends on our privileges and how much we are like the position that we are at. Because I feel like all of us just being here has a lot of things that are changeable, but people that are like homeless or refugees or in a position where they do not have the means that we do have, their life did not change as much as from before.
And somehow the inequalities
It became
are more
more,
in evidence
yeah,
right now.
definitely.
This might cause a geopolitical rearrangement.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, back home now, there is I'm not really sure if it's an accurate number, but because of the virus and before there was like this huge uprising against the government, and there is around 48% of people that are now in poverty, which is a lot. So people don't care anymore about the virus, and they're going and revolting because their life are on the line, and basically their bodies will shut down if they do not get provision of food, shelter, basic needs that would be provided for them. So it would be like when you have nothing anymore to lose, then you start like even your health doesn't matter anymore, and you're just fighting for like just the basic human decency.
Yeah, I'm. I think also the protagonism role that news are playing now is really to be able to report about what are the bodies that matter, in the
Yeah,
sense that they has been highlighting that there's some difference in how some bodies are treated in different contexts. And this is something that we knew already, but was not so thrown in our face, like as a problem of all of yours, all of our problem, in not only of the government or I don't know, or the
Mm-hmm.
more fragile themselves in that sense.
Yeah.
So
Very interesting that you addressed that, because we got a follow-up question that says, what about the bodies lost? We are now without reference of what the numbers mean. But that is what you started addressing, that it's very different in a way how different bodies are addressed, and the situation of like geography or economy or politics.
it's interesting that the news are somehow the only possibility to uh, let it sink this moment that the families and the intimate people from the deaths, from the dead ones, can attach to pass through this ritual of digesting what death in the family means, in the sense. This is the only concrete thing that they can attach to it, see, because they cannot go to the ritual. They are not allowed to, and for sure for sanitary reasons. But this might trigger some psychological or emotional difficulties in the future that we are not aware that we are going to be able to deal with.
Definitely, and it kind of reminds me of going back to this conversation of intimacy and how much there is like the body when there is like the deceased and the ritual of like doing a funeral, going there. Depends on like the culture. There's different ways of doing it, and they are done, I guess, for a reason, and they are there to give this reflection towards the disease, and then you can see the body and reflect on this and see that this is the reality now. But when you are forced not in a situation when there isn't any more contact with the body anymore and just like a news that is being delivered to you, then also there is a lot of psychological effect that is being done to that, and we don't know how the results yet because this is something very new and we're still trying to deal with it.
Yes, very interesting. I think we can sort of link this to a previous question we had that is going back more to news and maybe how you can think about news in the current situation. And the question goes to what could be the future news if not visible or audible?
I mean, we can see this a lot with the popularity of podcasts and how everyone wants to also take part in this and deliver their news through auditory sounds as well. And I mean, it is also going back because like before the visual there was the radio, so people would get their main news from the radio, and then it was more text based, which is like the paper of the news that they used to get delivered to them and read. And now because of the internet we have so many outlets that are visual, textual, auditive, and it's just like about your decision of preference, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I don't believe in this overlapping, in this overlapping. No, I mean that the replacement of old media, in a sense, more about they overlap and the diversity of possibilities increase them. Of course, also related to the technological moment that we are living in, and maybe the market itself also suggests must be refreshed to warm up the economic
Yeah.
side of it.
And also, it's not really about anymore the medium, but more of which platform you are choosing to get your news from. And then you see people believing stuff on Facebook that are just like fake news and that have no relation to any truth whatsoever. But for them, this is a reality and this is the truth. And then we see like people that are leading more toward the left. They have certain news outlet they go and check. People leading to the right, they have also like their own channels where they choose that this is the reality as well.
Yes, very interesting. We have already been talking for about 19 minutes, so we need to start wrapping it up. One thing that really stuck with me was when the both of you were discussing this sort of having a news diet, not to get too infected about the whole situation. I am imagining that it's sort of a bodily connection to maybe worry or stress or so, and at the same time having this idea of staying at home and having time to sort of be your best self and improving your body, that both of them are very news and body connected at the same time. I found that very interesting. Do you have anything else you would like to add before we finish this discussion?
Not for me, I guess.
No, it's I just think that you just said is just points to the thing that our body is a relationship, not necessarily an enclosed object. Something that is always in between.
Yeah, there's always an in between.
So maybe it's a nice closure for this.
Yes, that's really, really beautifully put. Well, then I want to thank the both of you very much for joining. I wish we had more time for this because I feel we could continue this discussion for a long time. Maybe we can do it in another form or in another way sometime.
Sure. Let's keep in touch.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much
Thank you
for
again for the
participating.
invitation.
Thank you. This was great.
And thank you for people
Bye.
in the chat.
Bye.
Goodbye.